Are you worried about the groups that have taken over Syria? Their backgrounds, what they say now is very different to what they say in the past. Are you worried? Can they be trusted?
Of course, there is concern. We're familiar with these groups from the past, and some of them continue to attack us. Currently, there is ongoing fighting, and there are daily casualties. There is certainly such a concern. All the groups present in Syria, along with the state supporting them, must act wisely and adopt the principle of inclusivity. If they insist on authoritarian rule similar to the regime of Bashar al Assad, this will inevitably create grounds for civil war in Syria.
There are many ISIS prisoners in this area, in prisons. There is some talk that they may be freed, either in an amnesty or they may be they may be allowed to escape by some of these rebel groups. How likely is that?
Frankly, there is currently a significant threat to the security of these detention centres. For example, in Manbij, militants attacked one of the prisons, and in Raqqa, where the detention centres are crowded with over 1,000 inmates, there are similar threats to these facilities, and we want to protect these facilities.
Surely ISIS is looking at what is happening now and thinking that this is an opportunity. Are you seeing signs of that?
Certainly, we recognise this threat. ISIS is now stronger in the Syrian desert. Previously, they were in remote areas and hiding, but now they have greater freedom of movement since they face no issues with other groups and are not engaged in conflict with them. In other areas under our control, their activities have also increased. Just a few days ago, 3 members of the internal security forces were killed near Al-Hasaka in an ISIS operation, and we know that plans for breaking out from detention centres is always on their agenda.
In terms of the situation with the Syrian Democratic Forces, if you're engaged in clashes and fighting with the Syrian National Army and other Turkish-backed groups, what does that mean for the fight against the Islamic State?
Undoubtedly, they're the ones launching attacks against us. For instance, if the intensity of the war against our people increases, we may be forced to reduce the number of forces stationed around Al-Hol camp and prisons to reinforce the front lines. Generally, the effectiveness of our forces and those of the coalition against ISIS diminishes when we're focused on protecting civilians and our communities, as efforts are redirected towards the ongoing conflict. This is why I say that if the fighting continues and intensifies, it will play into ISIS's hands.
And is it the case at the moment, is it my understanding that because of the security crisis and the clashes, that active operations against the Islamic State have actually had to be suspended at the moment?
Yes, at the moment, joint operations against ISIS are halted. This is not a decision, but rather a military reality, as the coalition is also preoccupied with the ongoing conflict. Therefore, I stress that if these attacks persist, joint operations will remain suspended.